Hello again. Today we're off to the land of the rising sun. We're looking at one of the lesser known and lesser loved companies, and that is Ricoh. Ricoh is another imaging company, a bit like Canon. They're best known for their office equipment, the same as Minolta. They were also a copier manufacturer, same as Konica. Konica bought Minolta, although they don't do cameras anymore because they sold their business to Sony. Konica Minolta is still huge in the world of printing, industrial stuff. Ricoh is similar, and cameras seem to form part of imaging companies in Japan. Ricoh was started in 1936 and employs currently around about 100,000 people around the world. They seem to grow through acquisition. They've bought an awful lot of copier and printer companies. And they're also the owner of Pentax. They bought Pentax in 2011. They bought Pentax. But this is going right the way back. This is going back to 1967 with the launch of this. This is one of the Singlex range of cameras. I think Singlex is a juxtaposition of single and reflex. The lens part sort of seems to have disappeared, so yeah, Singlex. This is a TLS version. This is a heavy all-metal camera and it's manual. It works without a battery, although it will take a battery. It's a mercury type cells. And I do have the old one that was in this camera somewhere kicking about over here. So these are now banned, these mercury cells. Very common in cameras of the late 60s, early 70s. As I say, these are banned nowadays. There are replacements that you can use, a little bit higher voltage. These are 1.35, whereas the newer ones are 1.5. But most negative film can deal with that. It's not a problem. Film has quite a good degree of latitude. Heavy, chunky, it's as heavy as a nickel mat. All metal. Bit unusual. Let's start with the top plate, say 1967 through to early 70s. Top plate, film advance lever, very nice. Serial number printed on the top, which is a bit annoying really. You have a frame counter up there, you can see this is on number 8. A shutter release button, a film plane indicator, and a reminder tab that you can turn so it says like this is empty. You've got an option for putting black and white, and you've also got colour, spelt the American style without the U. And you can have daylight colour film, or you can have tungsten balanced colour film. So that's for outdoor, that's for indoor. And a rewind crank. Pretty standard layout. Cold shoe, which is removable. Quite a fashion at that sort of era in time where you can have a removable cold shoe. Not quite sure what, it's got that bit of damage up there because this has got sort of padding on the back of it unless it's been dropped on its head. But other than that, it seems pretty sound. Back's rather boring. There's the viewfinder, very dirty. This camera could do with a good clean inside and out. It's another one I found in my my stash of oddballs that I've picked up over the years. On the end here we have two flash connections. One for X for electronic flash, one for M, which is for bulbs. Nobody really uses bulbs now. They were still around in the 60s, but by the 1970s everyone had moved on to electronic flash. Flash sync for M would be about a 30th, and this one has a copal metal vertical shutter, so its flash sync speed's 125th of a second. On the front, a bit of Ricoh badging, camera straps. And this is the metering, so to turn the meter on you just push this up, turn it off, push it down. The lens, this is an M42 camera, so this takes the old-fashioned screw thread. Screw threads are very much easier to machine than a bayonet mount, so this was a very common mount that was used on cameras. It was only really the high-end stuff like Canon, Olympus, Nikon that used bayonet mounts. A lot of the mid to lower range camera brands used screw mounts, and the issue you can see with this is there's no means of communicating the selected aperture on the lens to the camera body. So this camera meters in what's called stop down mode. So this camera, when it meters, it pushes on this little pin. When you see auto on these lenses, it means that they've got this little pin on the back. And what this pin does, I can just set the aperture on this, what this pin does is when it's pushed, it stops the lens down, or it closes the aperture down to whatever you've selected. When the camera meters on these, it has to push that down and meter the actual amount of light coming through the lens. It doesn't know what the aperture is. That's why a lot of manufacturers switched to bayonets, particularly in the 70s, and they came up with their own adaptations. Fujika's one that springs to mind that still used this mount, but did add their own way of communicating the aperture to the camera body. But yeah, these were pretty universal. These will fit Praktikas and Zeniths, etc. Not all of the cameras have this, because prior to that they were preset lenses where this wasn't automatic. And that's what the auto means here. It doesn't mean that the camera's automatic or the lens is autofocus or anything. It just means when you take the picture, the camera will fire the aperture and then it will reopen again. So they're not wide open metering cameras, because there's no way of communicating what the aperture is to the camera. And you'll notice when you push the meter on, get this to focus, there's a little bar down here. When you push the meter on, that bar moves forward like it is now, and then when you turn the meter off, the bar moves back. You can see the way it moves there. So it's a stop down metering camera. You can see the lens, there is a little plus and minus in the corner there, and it does have the central focusing aids, not the rangefinder, but it does have some focusing aids in it. So really wide range of very affordable lenses for these cameras. Oddly, I'm not really quite sure why they did this, the shutter speed dial is on the front here. Now, I can understand that it makes it easier to adjust, but it doesn't show you inside what it's set to, so you've still got to take it away from your eye to look to see what it's actually set on. It runs from B, it goes all the way through. I think this is designed to show when you would have camera shake. Sorry, the lighting's terrible today and this needs a good clean. But yeah, 125th is the sync speed. It goes all the way up to 1,000th of a second, so it's got the full range of shutter speeds. And these are all mechanical. Without a battery you can still use this camera. So it's great in cold weather conditions. Below that, a self-timer. Standard camera layout. If you've used one of these, you'll be able to use any of them really. It does have mirror lock-up when you use the self-timer. It moves the mirror out of the way, which is quite nice. If you were doing long exposures via a cable release or whatever, you could probably use a self-timer to bung the mirror out of the way, which is quite handy. This one's come with one of their own lenses, a Ricoh, a 55 2.8. There's nothing to really write home about, it's a budget lens. Ricoh were pretty good with glass. That's how the company started, was being glass polishers and lens manufacturers. These cameras were also made by Chinon. From what I've understood, it was designed by Chinon, so they made a version of this camera. And it was also made by Cosina. And it was quite often sold into other stores in the States. It was sold into Kmart with their Focal brand. Also Sears had a version of this, a house version. And there was also Porsche in Germany. They had a rebadged version of this as well. So it's a design that's been manufactured by quite a lot of companies. M42 screw mount lens, you just line it up and without forcing it, it will screw on. This lens has got really nice focusing action, it's smooth as a butter, it's just as good as any Nikon lens. The aperture's a bit interesting on it. You've got the 2.8 in the middle. You can either have it in auto mode, so you can select the aperture there and it doesn't stop down. If you turn it the other way, this is the manual side, you'll see the aperture's blades are closed. It's quite an interesting idea, that. It's a bit odd. I've not really come across lenses like that in the past. So let's have a look inside. Battery compartment under there. It has got a fresh battery in it. The meter does work in this one. It's a fully working example. Push up to rewind crank, pretty standard. So open the back. It looks like it's a pull up to open job, which it is. And you can see the copal square metal vertical travelling shutter. Fresh film goes in this side, comes across standard sprockets. Slotted pickup spool, just got a slot in it there to grab the film when you load it, and there's a back pressure plate. Very basic, but it's got all the features that you need really. It's got a meter, it's got full range of shutter speeds, takes interchangeable lenses, stop down metering, which once you've got used to doing that, it's not a problem. Quite nice. So it's quite heavy, it's quite a chunky camera. For something that was a budget camera, the build quality is top notch on it actually. Yeah, very impressed. Don't know what that lens is like, I'd probably swap that out. What we got here? Oh, that would be a really nice lens on it actually. This is a Voigtlander Colour Ultron, one of my favourite 50mm. 50mm 1.8. This is the same, it's M42 mount with the aperture pin, so this would fit on there and work fine. It does have a slight variation on the back there, but yeah, this would work fine on that camera. Absolutely loads of lenses that you can get for this camera. Some are really, really good, quite collectible and expensive. Others are really, really cheap. These, there's no such thing, I don't think, as a Ricoh fan club. If there is and you know of it or are a member, please let me know, but I don't seem to come across a lot of love for Ricoh cameras, which I don't really understand, because this to me strikes me as being a really nice camera. Actually, as I say, it's similar in weight to a nickel matte or a Canon FTB. Yeah, quite nice. There you go folks, that's the first video for today. You've got two coming today because I didn't make one yesterday. So there we present the Ricoh Singlex TLS. Very nice, very solid, very cheap, 20 quid or so with a lens. If the meter doesn't work, it doesn't matter, as long as it works and the shutter fires, it will last you and it will take quite a bashing, I think. But don't go around bashing cameras, it's not a nice thing to do. But yeah, nice bit of quality. Thank you very much for watching, hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, questions, queries, etc. down below. And like I say, if you are a member of a Ricoh fan club or any kind of Ricoh collectors, please get in touch and let me know. I find it quite a fascinating company. I don't really quite understand why it's never really got the following that some of the other manufacturers have got. Right, enough waffle. See you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.